Welcome back to Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams, and today we're examining a finding that challenges common assumptions about horse management and care. The research reveals that horses form significantly stronger, more beneficial relationships with individual humans than with multiple handlers, and this has implications that extend far beyond the stable. What we're discovering is that the one person horse isn't just romantic folklore or anthropomorphic fantasy. It's a measurable psychological phenomenon with real implications for both horse welfare and human well being. But more than that, it offers insights into how all meaningful relationships develop and what conditions create the deepest, most resilient bonds. Let me start with what the research actually shows. Horses with single consistent handlers demonstrate measurably different behaviors and stress responses compared to horses managed by multiple people. They approach novel situations with less reluctance, show more affiliative behaviors like following and seeking contact, and display lower physiological stress markers during challenging situations. The numbers are striking. In studies comparing horses with different management approaches, 75% of horses handled by only one person showed no reluctance toward novel objects, compared to just 32% of horses with multiple handlers. Horses with longer relationships, 6 years or more, were significantly more likely to approach new situations without stress responses. But here's what's particularly revealing. Horses that experienced multiple owner changes or frequent handler transitions showed increased avoidance behaviors and higher stress responses, even in routine situations. This suggests that inconsistency in primary relationships creates lasting effects on their capacity to trust and engage. The physiological research adds another layer. Heart rate variability studies show that horses are genuinely more relaxed, not just behaviorally compliant, when interacting with familiar, consistent handlers. Their nervous systems shift toward parasympathetic dominance, indicating real recovery and restoration rather than just submission or habituation. What makes this research particularly interesting is how it intersects with what we know about attachment theory. Horses don't show the same clear attachment styles we see in humans or even dogs. They don't demonstrate the full range of secure base behaviors, separation distress patterns, or consistent proximity seeking that characterizes human attachment relationships. But they do show something that might be more fundamental. They develop preferences for predictable, safe relationships and demonstrate measurable benefits from consistency in those relationships. This suggests that even without human like attachment patterns, the basic principles of relationship security, predictability, safety, positive interaction create beneficial effects across species. The research on cross-modal recognition reveals another fascinating dimension. Horses can recognize familiar humans not just visually, but by matching voices with faces. They maintain these recognition abilities even after long separations, suggesting that these relationships create lasting neurological impressions. This isn't just about memory, it's about the formation of internal representations of specific relationships that persist over time. The horse develops what we might think of as a relationship template for each significant human, complete with expectations about how that person will behave and what kind of interactions to expect. But the research also reveals some important nuances that complicate simple conclusions about one person bonds. Context matters tremendously. In some situations, particularly stressful ones like veterinary procedures, a calm, competent, unfamiliar handler can elicit similar behavioral and physiological responses as a familiar owner. This suggests that while individual bonds provide important benefits, they're not the only factor determining horse responses. The quality of interaction, the handler's skill level, and the specific context all influence how horses respond to different people. The training method research adds another layer of complexity. Horses trained with positive reinforcement and what's called natural horsemanship Methods that emphasize partnership and reading horse communication show stronger attachment behaviors than those trained with traditional methods based primarily on control and correction. This indicates that the quality of the relationship building process matters as much as its consistency. Simply having one person handle a horse isn't automatically beneficial if that handling is harsh, inconsistent, or ignores the horse's communication and needs. The research on forced versus voluntary interaction is particularly revealing. Horses subjected to intensive handling without choice or control show reduced fear responses but also decreased interest in human contact. They become compliant but not attached, manageable but not bonded. This distinction between compliance and genuine attachment has profound implications for how we think about relationship building more broadly. It's possible to create behavioral changes through consistency without creating genuine connection or trust. What emerges from this research is a more nuanced understanding of what creates beneficial one person bonds. It's not simply about exclusivity or frequency of contact, it's about the quality of predictable, positive interactions that allow the horse to develop genuine trust and security with a specific individual. But let's consider what this means for human relationships. The research suggests that deep, beneficial bonds require more than just spending time together or having regular contact. They require consistency in the quality of emotional availability, predictability in responses, and genuine attention to the other's communication and needs. This challenges some common assumptions about relationship building. We often focus on quantity of interaction, how much time we spend with someone, how often we communicate, without paying equivalent attention to the consistency of emotional quality in those interactions. The horse research suggests that a smaller number of consistently positive, emotionally available interactions might create stronger bonds than frequent but variable quality interactions. This has implications for how we approach parenting, friendship, romantic relationships, and even therapeutic relationships. The findings about multiple handlers are particularly relevant to modern life, where many relationships involve shared care or responsibility. Children might have multiple caregivers, elderly individuals might have various care providers, and even romantic relationships often involve complex networks of family and friends. The research suggests that while multiple positive relationships can be beneficial, there may be particular value in having at least one relationship characterized by consistency, predictability, and primary emotional availability. This doesn't mean exclusivity necessarily, but it might mean prioritizing depth over breadth in at least some of our connections. The recognition research offers another insight about the importance of individual attention. Horses develop specific recognition patterns for individual humans, complete with expectations about how each person will behave. This suggests that meaningful relationships require genuine individual attention rather than generic positive interaction. Applied to human relationships, this might mean that the quality of individual presence, really seeing and responding to the specific person in front of you, matters more than general kindness or social skills. Each relationship requires its own attention and development rather than a one size fits all approach. But the research also reveals some important limitations in applying animal research to human relationships. Horse human bonds, while real and meaningful, don't show the full complexity of human attachment patterns. Horses don't demonstrate the same capacity for emotional regulation through relationships, the same complexity of internal working models, or the same transfer of relationship patterns across contexts. This means we need to be cautious about over extrapolating from horse research to human psychology. The basic principles, consistency, predictability, positive interaction, seem to apply across species, but the specific mechanisms and outcomes may be quite different. The research on individual versus multiple handlers also raises some practical questions about modern relationship structures. In our increasingly mobile, complex society, many people experience frequent changes in primary relationships, multiple concurrent attachments, and less consistency in daily interactions than previous generations. While we can't necessarily control all these factors, the horse research suggests that where possible, prioritizing consistency and depth in at least some relationships might provide particular benefits for emotional regulation and stress management. But there's also a potential downside to consider. The research shows that horses with very strong individual bonds can sometimes become overly dependent on specific handlers, showing increased stress when that person is unavailable. This suggests that healthy individual bonds need to coexist with some degree of flexibility and resilience. Applied to human relationships, this might mean that while deep, consistent bonds are valuable, overdependence on single relationships can create vulnerability. The goal might be developing a few deep, consistent relationships while maintaining enough flexibility to adapt when circumstances change. The training method research offers additional insights about how to build healthy individual bonds. Methods that emphasize partnership, positive reinforcement, and attention to the other's communication create stronger attachment than methods based primarily on control or getting needs met through pressure. This suggests that healthy one person bonds aren't about possession or control, but about mutual responsiveness and genuine care for the other's well being. The strongest bonds develop when both parties feel seen, heard, and respected in the relationship. The research also reveals that building these deep individual bonds takes time and can't be rushed. Horses need repeated positive experiences to develop genuine trust, and attempting to force closeness or intimacy before trust is established can actually damage the relationship. This patience requirement might be particularly relevant in our culture that often seeks rapid connection and immediate intimacy. The horse research suggests that the most secure bonds develop gradually through accumulated positive experiences rather than through intensity or dramatic gestures. What strikes me about this research is how it validates both the importance of individual connections and the complexity of creating them well. It's not enough to simply designate someone as your person or to spend lots of time together. Beneficial individual bonds require ongoing attention to the quality of interaction, consistency in emotional availability, and genuine responsiveness to the other's needs and communication. The research also suggests that these deep individual bonds, when formed well, create benefits that extend beyond the relationship itself. Horses with strong individual bonds show greater confidence in novel situations, better stress regulation, and more willingness to engage with challenges. This suggests that secure individual relationships might serve as a foundation for broader resilience and growth. Applied to human development, this might mean that having at least one deeply secure, consistent relationship, whether with a parent, partner, friend, or therapist, could provide a foundation for greater confidence and resilience in other areas of life. But perhaps most importantly, the research reminds us that meaningful relationships require ongoing investment and attention. The horses that maintained strong bonds with specific humans did so through continued positive interaction over time. Relationships aren't established once and then maintained automatically. They require ongoing nurturing and care. This has implications for how we think about relationship maintenance in our busy, distracted world. The horse research suggests that consistent quality attention to our most important relationships might be one of the most valuable investments we can make for both our own and others' well being. This has been Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams, and thank you for joining me today.